Atlas Audio Podcast Network.
Hello out there. Women's History Month may be over, but we still have plenty of bitches to whine about because this is whining about herstory, and we're probably never going to run out of women that history has decided to just delete because why? They have no reason, and we're here to whine about them. I'm Kelley.
I'm super bitchy today, and I am ready to fucking whine.
Emily's here to rage.
Before we started recording, I told Kelley about how I got like no sleep last night because I woke up, I was just like really anxious about, you know, everything that's going on in the world and people like being like whisked off the streets and disappeared and having nightmares about being pregnant and like not having control of my body and all this other stuff. So I'm like, and Kelley's like, well, that really sucks, but you know, it's good to have a way to channel that energy. I'm like, yeah, into the podcast.
Yeah, exactly. Like we're here to bitch about shit.
Outlet for my righteous anger.
Yeah, I kind of wish I almost had a more like anger-inducing story for you to like really just sink your teeth into, but hopefully the lightness of the story, the woman that I have today, will also help.
So my story is fucking absurd. I'm very excited about it. And honestly, it's the kind of like good chaos, like chaotic good energy that I really need.
Mine is very much about a woman taking control of like her own shit.
I love that. I need it.
Yes.
Before we get started, I do have a say their name. I know we haven't done one of these in a while, but my Spotify Discover weekly playlist hath delivered.
Okay.
Milady.
Please tell me.
My cup overfloweth with good news. So there is an artist. So do you remember Hildegard von Bingen? She
Vaguely.
she was the nun saint that I covered way back in episode 10 who was like, gynecology. Let's talk about it.
Yeah.
And like
yes, I do
drew
remember that.
art of lady bits and everything.
As one should.
There is an artist named Hildegard von Blingen.
Oh.
Who does medieval covers of pop songs.
Oh, gee, that sounds awesome.
And the song that popped up on my playlist was Pink Pony Club.
Is it awesome?
By Chappell Roan, of course. Yep. And it's not just the vibe that's medieval. This artist changes the lyrics.
Yeah, to kind of like match that aesthetic.
So I'm just going to read part of the pre-chorus of the lyrics to give you, like, I'm not going to sing it because I'm not going to do that to everyone. We've been through enough. But the pre-chorus of Pink Pony Club. Lord, what hast thou done? Thou art a pink pony maid. Thou shouldst be a nun. Oh, mother, I just want to run. With the mummers and clowns, 'tis where I belong, down at the Pink Pony Inn. I shall keep on dancing at the Pink Pony Inn. Shall keep on dancing, let them call it a sin. I shall keep on dancing at the Pink Pony Inn. Pink Pony Inn.
I fucking love that.
It's amazing. And she's got a bunch of other songs. She's got a version of Somebody That I Used to Know, where it's like, somebody whom arts I don't remember. I have to read the lyrics. But I highly recommend, seriously, everyone check out Hildegard von Blingen, my new favorite. I'm like, oh my God. How did this never come up when I was covering Hildegard von Bingen? Like,
I mean, how long has this person been doing it?
I don't know. I should have looked
maybe
it up.
that's why. Like, maybe they've only been doing this for 4 years, whereas you covered her 6 years ago.
Yeah, but I love it. The album art is amazing. The songs are bops because the original songs are bops, but then even the medieval, like the kind of green sleeve style, very, very good. So everyone, and like, I don't know this person. I don't know. I just found them on Spotify and now I'm obsessed. Everyone check out Hildegard von Blingen. I know thou wantest me to stay. I cannot deny these maddening visions of me in chalet. I can't. See, it's bad. So Kelley, what the hell are you drinking?
I'm drinking a Body Armor water because I just got home from work and I should have alcohol. Actually, hold on. I'm going to go grab one of the tiny bottles of wine.
Please grab one of the tiny bottles of wine. I'm going to tell everyone about what I'm drinking. So I am, as I often do when we record remotely, I'm cracking open a Prize Brewing Royal Pineapple Sour Ale. This is their summer springy release, I think.
Okay.
But it's a pineapple sour. It is
that sounds good.
Very good. And I'm going to crack this can open for you. Ooh.
It's beautiful.
Oh, God. Hold on. Oh, my God. I love anything pineapple.
Yeah.
I will fuck with pineapple all day, every day. But this is very good. So, yeah, Prize Brewing. Keep up the good work. # not sponsored, but maybe.
If we ever get sponsored, probably not, because we're not really a beer podcast.
You know what?
And I probably can't drink anything they make.
I know. I'm sure they have non-carbonated stuff.
It is very rare that breweries have anything non-carbonated, unless they make wine as well.
That's true. I will say, when it comes to alcohol, we are ecumenical. We embrace alcohol in all of its forms. So
I have my tiny bottle.
I would I'd totally do a show at a brewery in a heartbeat.
I mean, I totally would too. I'll have to bring my own liquor, which they will have to deal with. I guess they could give me liquor. That would be fine too.
Just put it in one of their pint glasses. You'll be fine.
So I went and got one of our tiny bottles of Bloom and Blossom. It's a few years old now, but that's fine. It's wine. And this is the Chardonnay. Mine is also going to crack.
Ooh, good shard. So satisfying.
Cheers.
Cheers. Hey, wait, cheers to Hildegard von Blingen.
Hildegard von Blingen.
Doing God's work. And she's very proud.
The Lord's work that we didn't know we needed.
I know. I'm like, oh my God. I already have ideas of doing a Renaissance Festival playlist.
Oh my
that's
God.
Mostly this and the fairy core kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Because me and Jory have been to the Ren Fest the past couple years in a row, and we always have fun with what are we going to listen to on the drive up there? And this last time on our way back, we listened to Epic, which is an amazing concept album about the Odyssey. Everyone check it out. Kelley, I think I've told you about it. You would love it.
Yeah. I think you've told me about it, and I think it's shown up on a few of my random playlists that are in the similar genres.
Yeah, but they just released the last album in the series this Christmas. So of course I made Egg listen to it when we were driving to bumfuck Illinois for Christmas. And he's like, I made him listen to what had been released, and we got through most of it. And we're getting ready for this drive. I'm like, okay, you know how chill and laid back I am. I'm going to be weird about it. I'm making this happen. I'm forcing it on you. He's like, oh, okay. Are we going to listen to it from where we left off? And I'm like, no, from the fucking beginning.
Jesus Christ, Emily.
Egg is a musical guy. He dug it. Or if he didn't, he was really good at humoring me.
Yeah, he was like, I'm just not going to say anything. She'll get too into the music to notice.
I was like,
jamming.
I binged all those songs. I've got them memorized. And I was just like, yeah.
That does not surprise me.
Singing along. Being like, ooh, this is the part where this happens. Or ooh, you don't want to piss off Athena.
I mean, no, you never if Greek mythology taught us a lot of things, but one of them was do not piss off Athena or Aphrodite or Hera. Actually.
Harem does make an appearance in one of the songs, and there's a Zeus infidelity joke, and it's really funny. And I'm like, Kelley would appreciate this because she knows.
I do.
Yep. Well, Kelley was kind enough to inform me before we got started that I am going first.
Yeah, I was like, we don't need to do this dance.
We don't need to do this dance. You know, again, we've all been through enough already. I want to dedicate this story to one of my best friends, Tierney, and friend of the podcast.
Tierney.
She shared this story with me on Instagram and also just got engaged.
Yay.
So this is my lazy and like self-serving engagement gift to her. Don't worry, Tierney, I'll get you something like actually worth.
Are you supposed to like buy people engagement gifts?
Well, I've been friends with Tierney since 7th grade. We met in like gym class in the pool. So if I'm going to get someone an engagement gift, I'm going to get one for Tierney. Didn't I get you an engagement gift?
I mean, I think you did when I had like my shower or whatever it's called. My engagement
I got you
party.
a bridal shower gift. I was also your maid of honor. That was my engagement gift to you. And then I paid a third of your rent for a year.
Yeah, you also lived there, but you know, you can phrase it that way if you want.
You know what? It sounds less nice the more details you add and the more context. So let's just say I paid a third of your rent for a year. Let's just leave it at that.
Sounds great.
Whoop.
Emily's
Sorry, my alarm for taking my trash cans out started to go off.
Oh, yeah, I need to do that. I'm gonna do that when
Trash
we're done.
So today I am whining about the Pickle Sisters.
I saw the title for that. I didn't like look at your notes, but I saw the title and I was like, and I saw like the little photo and I was like, I'm so excited for this episode.
I am going to ask you to go into my notes at a certain point. So
okay.
I did include some fun visuals because good God. So it's the roaring 20s. Hooch is illegal, but that's not going to stop the party. Bobbed-haired flappers draped in pearls, spinning their fringed dresses on the dance floor, dominated the scene, especially on vaudeville. So vaudeville was the hottest entertainment of the late 1800s and early 1900s, consisting of variety acts. Vaudeville performers were singers, dancers, comedians, magicians, acrobats, animal trainers, jugglers, and more.
Yeah, it could literally be like anything.
It's very like early America's Got Talent.
Yeah.
And of course, like there's no internet, so everything is like, whoa, I've never seen that before. Holy crap. So vaudeville acts were often novel or comedic in nature, and everyone was trying to stand out. Some performers leveraged their medical conditions, such as Myrtle Corbin, better known as the four-legged girl. I'm going to give you one guess as to why she was known as that.
4 legs.
Yeah. So she had a condition called dipyagus. I think I'm saying that right. There was also Lionel, the lion-faced man, who had hypertrichosis, which caused excessive hair growth. So he was like
similar to like the werewolf people.
I think it's the same.
That's what they call them now. I think it's the same thing. Exactly. Like they called him the Lion Man, but like that's still around today.
Yep. Remember when I talked about Mary Toft who like shoved rabbits up her cooch?
Yeah.
As part of a hoax. One of the things she said that like while she was pregnant, she saw a rabbit like made intense eye contact with it, and that's why she was giving birth to rabbits.
Yep.
Because that was an idea that outside forces or interactions with animals could influence pregnant people. And Lionel, the lion-faced man, part of his backstory was like that his mother, while pregnant, had gotten like scared by a lion at the zoo or something.
Jesus. I just like that. That's the thing. She got scared by a lion. Like, yeah, that tracks.
Yeah. I just thought it was funny that popped up again. Talented twins like the Dolly sisters were also incredibly popular. Because again, twins, it's like, holy shit, there's two of them at
it was
the
like a
same
big deal.
time.
Yeah.
So to be successful, performers needed some kind of hook to stand out. And if you didn't have excessive facial hair or an abundance of limbs, you had to get creative. If God didn't bless you with something that made you an oddity to be ogled at by the public for money, you had to work harder.
Gotta figure it out, man.
Enter the Pickle Sisters. So now you can go into my notes and look at the I want to say infamous photo, but the iconic photo.
That's so funny.
And this will be on our social media, so you can all look at it and see exactly what we're talking about. There's not much other way to describe these young women.
The two women in the back look fine, and then the one woman like front right looks incredibly uncomfortable, and the other woman front left looks like she has her bangs in her eyes.
No joke, if I had one of those things on my head, I would also be very uncomfortable.
Oh yeah. No, I would not be happy about it.
Yeah. Their shoes, so cute though.
Yeah, the shoes are really cute.
I love that like 20 style shoes. So made up of Margaret, Mavis, Opal, and Florence, the alleged Pickle Sisters, because I don't know if they were actually sisters or not.
Yeah.
As their names suggest, dressed as pickles and performed on vaudeville. So they're wearing these green, sleeveless, knee-length, kind of like shapeless flapper dresses. But then they're also wearing these massive green cones on their heads.
All of which has
the
bumps
dresses,
on it.
Yeah, and the dresses and the hats have like these little nubs all over them, like the warts on a gherkin or whatever. So better known by their stage names, Dilly, Kosher, Gherkin, and Cornichon. The four
really
gals had
Gherkin.
I
would fight for Gherkin.
You gotta have the right energy to carry Gherkin, though.
Mm-hmm. You gotta have that big Gherkin energy.
You gotta have big Gherkin energy. You can't have the name Gherkin and not bring the big G energy. So the four gals had a 15-minute routine that consisted of dancing, singing, and comedy, all pickle themed, of course. And this included singing original songs. Their song, I'm Green for Your Form, hit number 6 on the hit parade charts. You're sweet like dill and never sour. I brine for you in my darkest hour. Around you, I'm never blue or forlorn. Baby, I'm green for your form.
That's a really long song title.
No, the song title is I'm green for your form. That's a selection of the lyrics.
Okay. I thought that was the entire song title, like the last line. I was like, Jesus, that's wow.
It's like, oh my God, why am I blanking? It's like a Panic at the Disco song title. Oh, yeah. It's actually just like a paragraph.
Yeah.
It's a thesis statement. However, the Gherkin gimmick would only take these one-hit wonder women so far, and they faded into the sepia-toned haze of the past. At least, that's the story according to online family lore.
Oh, online family lore. Okay.
According to online family lore. What is the truth behind these cornichon-clad ladies? Were they vaudeville performers, or did their outfits have military applications?
What?
We'll get into it. Fortunately, a blog called Leaves of Trash found an answer.
Leaves of Trash. Okay.
I am going to include
name.
the link to this blog in the show notes, in the description. They have 2 blog posts. One,
That's it?
Yep. One is just a GIF of the grandpa from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, like the 70s one, being like, there's nothing I can do about it, or I don't know, something like that. It's like when they're in the bubble chamber and they have to burp to save themselves from the fan. There's a GIF of that. The second blog post is about this and the Pickle Sisters. And it has been, I'm really upset that those are the only 2 posts because this blog post was so thorough.
Oh, really? That's
yeah,
awesome, though.
like shockingly thorough. So I tried to find out more information about Leaves of Trash, like maybe their name or like what they're about. So I couldn't. So I'm just going to call them Leaves of Trash.
Just call them Leaf.
Leafly. The second of 2 blog posts on Leaves of Trash, titled Desperately Seeking the Pickle Sisters, digs into the mystery of these pretty pickles. They pick apart the story that I'm very proud of it. Don't shame me. So they pick apart the story that I just told you by pointing out several inaccuracies. So let's start with everyone's new favorite chart-topping pickle song, I'm Green for Your Form, which is like too sexually charged in the wrong way.
Yeah, it is sexually charged in a very odd way.
It's sexually charged in the way that American Psycho is sexually charged. It's like, oh God, we've crossed a line here. So this song allegedly hit number 6 on the hit parade charts. However, these charts weren't created until 1935 after the alleged 1920 setting. Now, maybe we have the timing off. You know, fashions don't have a hard cutoff date where it's like, well, midnight, January 1st, 1930, no one was dressing like this anymore. But there is also no record of a song by that name or the Pickle Sisters that was ever on those charts because they have it all archived.
Yeah.
Leaves of Trash then dug down into the iconic photos past using reverse image searches. It has been used to depict terrible fashions of the past and in further historical hoaxes like this little gem about the War of 1812. So, Kelley, if you want to go into my notes, you will see a black and white version of the photo, not the colorized one, where it's got the watermark truefactsociety.com.
Yep, I see it.
Which isn't a thing anymore. And what that website alleged, the War of 1812 saw the first female soldiers. Cannon women would wear barrel-shaped helmets and thrust them into the rear of the cannon to clean them between battles.
That also seems weirdly sexual.
I'm sorry.
Why would you put something on your head and then shove your head into a cannon?
I know. I'm like, if you're gay, it's okay. Just accept it. If you like phallic things going into, like, just... I'm also going to say, if you have to name your website truefactsociety.com, as we've learned, anyone who's like branding themselves as the truth probably isn't.
Sketchy.
And I'm like, okay, that doesn't explain. They're wearing fucking pearls. Also, this photo is definitely not from 1812.
Right, like it is, well, and it's very clearly not like war.
Yeah, and I'm sorry. The best way to clean cannons after firing them was to shove a human being inside of them.
Yeah, that doesn't sound right.
Like, we've been using cannons for a very long time, okay? And if this was the best way to do it, I think someone would have figured it out by now. It's like the guy from the Aliens meme, where instead of going aliens, he's like, women with pickle hats. So this photo of the 4 women has been making the rounds on the internet since at least 2009, likely earlier, but unfortunately the true source of the photo and the story behind it hasn't been found yet. Leaves of Trash concluded that it likely was a photo of 1920s era performers. Their fashion fits, their hair, their style, and there's really like not another great excuse for those outfits. Like it's like, okay, you have to be getting paid for this.
Right.
This has to be part of a gimmick. The original photo was in sepia tone, so the photo of their outfits colorized green is like a modern edit.
Yeah, it's a modern like recoloring.
Yeah, and they've even been called like the Cactus Sisters. Like the Pickle Sisters is what they're mainly known as, but they also kind of look like cacti.
Oh, yeah.
But who knows what color those dresses were, and that might actually give us a clue into what the fuck they're dressed as. The legend around this admittedly wild photo grew into the Pickle Sisters showing up in 2011. In 2013, the photo began showing up colorized green. So yeah, again, we don't even know what color these outfits were. The photo went viral again during the pandemic, marking a resurgence in the legend of the Pickle Sisters. Because if you Google the Pickle Sisters, you basically find the same story over and over
again. Oh, that sucks.
And actually, people like to add to the legend. So those lyrics that I read you, that you thought were the song title, I fucking made them
Somebody
up.
just, oh, really? You made them up?
Yeah,
Okay,
I made them up. The song
impressive.
name, I'm Green for Your Form, is part of the legend. I added the lyrics because I thought it would be, I'm like, oh, like I'm not going to do a pickle parody song on this podcast.
Right? Of course we would.
Fuck. How long have we been doing this?
You've just been waiting for it. You've been waiting for your ability to pull out the pickle lyrics.
I know I said that this is my gift to Tierney for her engagement. This is really her gift to me. This is why I love her. She never stops giving. And because pickles are my favorite food, and this is like my favorite thing in the world. So unfortunately, we don't know the real story behind the so-called Pickle Sisters. Were they one of many kitsch acts who graced the vaudevillian stage? Were the costumes culturally inspired or ceremonially significant? Who the fuck were Margaret, Mavis, Opal, and Florence, better known by their stage names Dilly, Kosher, Gherkin, and Cornichon, or were they?
Right? I really hope
Even the
so.
names and the stage names totally made up.
Yeah,
Regardless
that's insane.
Right? So regardless of the truth, I still think it's incredible to think that these four women, who have likely been dead for a very long time, were rediscovered 100 years later through technology that they couldn't even imagine.
Yeah.
And through this technology, this legend has been stitched together, and this mythos and this almost folklore surrounding this photo. So even if the truth is never known, these women have secured a strange legacy as the Pickle Sisters.
Right, like whether it's true or not, like at this point basically doesn't matter. Because
Right.
that is what essentially they're known as now.
Now, don't get me wrong. If anyone figures out who these women really were, I am all over that. But you know that documentary is going to be called, like, Desperately Seeking the Pickle Sisters, like Leaves of Trash said, or Finding the Pickle Sisters.
Finding the hidden pickle.
Picking a pack of pickled sisters.
That's not bad.
A briny
Picking apart this
mystery.
pickle of the sisters.
God damn, I love you. God
Love you
damn.
too.
But yeah, no, that's the story of the Pickle Sisters. So thank you, Tierney. Congratulations on your engagement. Your fiance is
Yay.
awesome. He'll never fully deserve you, but like he's gonna keep trying, which is the important part.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
Yeah. He's never gonna get there, but he's also never gonna stop trying.
Which, you know, sometimes that's all we can ask for.
I think that's more than anyone can ask for. So many people, like, they get married and then they're just like, okay, I'm done. Like, no. Now the work really begins.
Now the work really begins. That's how we're saying it.
Yes.
Okay.
The work of maintaining a marital relationship really begins.
That is true. It is not easy.
I can't even begin to imagine.
You're like, no comment.
No, you know what? I don't have the confidence of a mediocre white man, so I'm not going to speak on a topic that I know nothing about.
There you go. I also love that calling out of mediocre white men.
Yeah, there are so many of them, and they are so loud and so prevalent, and definitely not texting each other war plans on Signal and inviting journalists into the chat. Goddamn.
Yeah.
Kelley, who are you
We live in
about?
the weirdest of fucking times right now.
I seriously, you cannot fucking make this shit up anymore. You cannot. Because it has all the hallmarks of like horrible shit we've seen in the past, but with modern technology that makes it feel even like more absurd. Like, this is a satire, right? We're living in a satire.
I really hope so. Because otherwise, yeah, it's kind of ridiculous and it's not okay.
I personally, this is why I don't believe we're living in the Matrix, because there's no
I don't think anyone would
AI
write
that
this.
could come up with this crap.
No.
No, you can't write this.
I wish someone would write, like, I wish it would turn out we are in the Matrix and everything's fine, but it's not. So
I'd be so fine with my body being used as a potato battery right now.
right? Okay. We're going to talk about my woman now, not potato
All right, who are you
batteries.
whining about?
I am womaning. I'm womaning
I
about.
am woman, hear me whine.
There you go. Yes. I
How have
actually
we
really
never
like that.
said that before?
I don't know, but that needs to be a thing now.
I am woman, hear me whine.
hear
Oh
me
my
whine.
God. 6
I might have
years.
to
It
make
took us
some
6
merch from
goddamn
that.
years.
Okay, so I am whining about Beryl Markham.
Great name.
Beryl, just in case you wanted to know the spelling.
I love that name. Beryl is one that we need to bring back.
It's kind of even better when you put her unmarried name with it. So she was born Beryl CLUTTERBUCK. One word. Clutterbuck is one word. Yep.
I'm
Yep.
sorry. What?
Beryl CLUTTERBUCK.
You cannot write this crap.
Nope.
She sounds like the old lady in a Murder, She Wrote-esque book. Like, oh, and then old lady Beryl CLUTTERBUCK who lives down the road with all of her cats.
Oh yeah, like it's like it's so old timey. It sounds made up.
Beryl CLUTTERBUCK.
But that was her name.
This might be
And
one of the best names that we've ever encountered.
And she was born in the village of Ashwell in the county of Rutland in England.
Love it.
So she was born on
Rutland upon Thames.
Oh yeah, there's one of those like on whatever in here, I think. Maybe not. She moves pretty early in life. But so she was born on October 26, 1902. Very, very close to being a Halloween baby. And she was the daughter of Charles Baldwin Clutterbuck and Clara Agnes Clutterbuck. Usually I don't include like the full names of her parents, but I'm like, these are great names.
Also, Agnes Clutterbuck, great cat name.
Yeah. Also, she had one older brother. So usually in like the 1902s, we hear like, oh, she was one of 7 siblings. No, she was only one of 2. And her brother was named Richard Alexander Clutterbuck, but he went by the name Dickie.
I was going to say,
So
his name is Dick
Dickie
Clutterbuck.
Clutterbuck.
Dickie is better. Dickie Clutterbuck.
Oh, okay. But so her father was a horse trainer.
No, pause. I'm sorry, I'm taking this over for a second. That's a great dog name, because can you imagine being at the dog park and going, Richard Dickie Clutterbuck, you stop hunting that Great Dane. Humping, I think I said hunting. Humping that Great Dane now, or I swear to God I will tan your fucking hide.
Right? Oh, God, that would be
Richard Dickie Clutterbuck.
Yep.
Okay,
So that
you may
was her
continue.
brother's name. And when she was 4 years old, her family actually moved from England to Kenya. Just
oh shit,
a small change. So technically at this time, this was Kenya before it was Kenya, when it was like oh God, what was it? I forgot. I had it written down and then I deleted it. It was like British something. Like Britain named it after themselves. Britain owned Kenya at this time.
Yeah, it was colonialism at its worst.
Oh yeah, this was kind of like as it's starting to die down, but not too much. It was called the East Africa Protectorate.
I thought you were going to say pectoral something, and I'm just like, Britain, tell me you're insecure without saying you're insecure.
Right.
God.
So
their country names are as bland as their fucking food.
Oh God, yeah, right? I know. They're like, we're just going to name it after ourselves, and it's in the East, so East. It's fine.
It's on the continent of Africa. Africa, like, can you imagine being in that marketing meeting?
No.
It would have taken one person
yeah,
to kind of try for that to be better. Also, don't colonize places, you jackasses.
Right. That's the easy way to not do dumb things.
Yeah. Yeah. You created a problem for yourself and literally everyone else. And you look like the assholes. Forever.
So yeah, forever. That is your history. Well, actually a lot of countries, but particularly Britain.
I mean, it's also on us. We're not proud of it.
That's why I said, I was like, it was a lot of countries, but like also
but we're picking on
Britain
right now.
Exactly. So yeah, she moved when she was 4, and I think I said her father was a horse trainer, so he moved to Kenya to build a horse racing farm in Naro. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. However, Clara, however you want to pronounce it, didn't take to the bush life quite as well. And she went back to the UK with her new lover, a Major Henry Fernelly Kirkpatrick. And she took Dickie with her, but she left Beryl with her father.
Oh, man, I forgot. I'm sorry. I forgot Beryl was the person we're talking about. I was like, wait, the 4-year-old took her brother back to the UK with her lover? How old
Clara
is she now?
The mother.
Yeah.
So,
you know what? Yep. That's what happens when husbands make unilateral decisions for the entire family without consulting literally anyone else in the entire family.
Right. I couldn't find anything that said like why she only took one of her children with her, which sucks, but she did. She only took one of her children with her. And so, like I said, Beryl was kind of left with her father, which may not have been the best decision that her mother ever made.
Among the many great decisions she's made up until this point.
Yeah, exactly. And so Beryl's kind of left to kind of live an adventurous in a nice way childhood. And she grew up playing and learning and hunting with the local children of all races, like, because it was mostly like African tribes, but there were also like the other British colonizers. Jesus, why is that word so hard? And so in a book called The Lives of Beryl Markham, the author describes Beryl's unusual childhood in quite a lot of detail, because he actually did get to talk to Beryl before she passed for this memoir. And so it talks about how Beryl's best friend as they were growing up was a boy named Kibby, whose name's changed to Rutas after his circumcision. But she basically grew up as an honorary boy in the local tribe, which was the Kipsigis tribe, and she learned to speak Swahili, and that became her primary language. She would cross-dress as a boy, and like she kind of just grew up among the tribes people. Her father would teach her and Kibby to ride horses with like the precision of like they akin it to like military cavalry precision of control of these horses. While Kibby's father and the other tribes people would share with her extensive hunting knowledge and tracking skills and like all of these like kind of bush skills. And she would also join and compete in a lot of the games the young boys of the tribes would play, mostly of skill and strength. A lot of them were challenging each other to different things, like jumping as high as your own height, or like hunting warthogs with spears, like stuff that could be incredibly dangerous.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's what happens when your mom abandons you in Kenya, apparently.
You know, I love that you could kind of neglect raising your child in the African bush.
Just do it.
And they actually just got like this really incredible wild thornberries-esque education.
Right? I know when I was writing this, I was like, you got to live your wild thornberries life.
I love adventurous childhood in the early 1900s is child endangerment in 2025.
Mm-hmm. So during World War I came about while Beryl was in Kenya. And I don't know why this kind of sparked it. I kind of wonder if her dad was maybe training horses for the war effort or something. But this was the only time that there was any records of Beryl actually attending school. And so she attended an English run, like British school in Nairobi and did not do well. She really struggled to comply with strict rules, and she never finished like the full 4 years because within 3 years, she was expelled for attempting to start a revolt. Like, she tried to get all of her classmates to, like, rise up and revolt against the teachers, and so she got expelled from school.
Okay,
Which
but she's not wrong.
Exactly. So she would go back to her family's farm and, you know, just continue the knowledge that she had been developing since she was little. And she would kind of just take over from her dad, like, the love of horses, and establish herself as a trainer. By the age of 17, she was kind of like well on her way to becoming a trainer. At this time, her father had apparently lost all of his money and just left her in Kenya and moved to Peru.
Mr. Clutterbuck, do better.
Yeah, he's not a star father. So I couldn't find if this was after her father left or just before her father left, but sometime around her 17th birthday, potentially just before, which would mean her father was still around. But Beryl would marry a man named Jacques Prouvis.
Oh, I was really shipping her and Kippy.
Even though his name sounds French, at least to me, he was apparently a Scotsman.
Are you goddamn kidding me?
Yep. Who was twice her age and ran her dad's like sawmill that was on the property.
Ew. You know he was like eyeing her as a
probably
little
like
girl.
Oh, yeah, exactly. As you can suspect, this marriage was a fucking disaster.
The real work started and immediately ended.
Right? One, probably because of their age difference, and I assume it was probably like an arranged marriage kind of thing. I have a feeling my guess, my Herstory headcanon is that her father knew they were out of money, knew he was going to be leaving the country, and went, well, I need someone to take care of her. This guy's been looking at her for the last however many years. You can have her.
This grown-ass man has been ogling my teenage daughter. But no, I was thinking the same thing because, well, and that was very typical that like women needed a man, a father, a brother, a husband, someone to care for them because they were denied a lot of the opportunities to like care for themselves.
Yeah. The other major reason for this marriage kind of being a disaster was Jock was a big drinker and would be drunk a lot. And so unsurprisingly, one, because she was probably grossed out by him, but two, if he's passed out drunk a lot, Beryl sought relations outside of the marriage quite often. Like she was just like, you know what? I don't like you. I'm going to go get my needs met elsewhere.
She's like, I can't do anything with this whiskey dick, dude.
Right. And
just
so,
flopping around in the wind. There's nothing I can do with this.
And from what I read, she eventually just left him. She was like, I'm done.
Good for her.
So during this marriage, she would also become Africa's, at least as far as I could find, the first woman in Africa to receive a license for training racehorses. So that's pretty cool. She at least, like, her dad did teach her something. And yeah, this was during their marriage because she left him in 1922, which would put her at 20 years old. So they were married for three to 4 years.
So I like to think that she left him when he was like passed out drunk. And when he came to with the hangover, he's like, did I hallucinate having a wife?
Like, I thought I was married, but she's not here. Maybe I wasn't.
I don't see a wife, so maybe I was just like super drunk and thought I had a wife. Like, I'm just imagining Jacques has
just him
no
being
idea.
Super fucking confused.
He's just like that drunk all the time.
That would be honestly like super hilarious.
Yes. Alcoholism is a serious problem, blah, blah, blah. We're talking about someone who's been dead for 100 years.
Right. So after she left Jacques, she befriended a Danish writer named Karen Blixen, who I'm going to have to cover at some point. She apparently wrote under like a pseudonym that I'm not going to include here because I didn't include it in my notes. But she was like she was doing her own thing. So she's actually like pretty well known. And during this time, Karen was managing her own family's coffee farm in the hills outside of Nairobi. So she was like running in the same circles as Beryl, and that's kind of how they met and became friends. At this time, Karen,
God, I ship this so hard.
Unfortunately, they didn't start a relationship because at this time, Karen was in a romantic relationship with a hunter and pilot named Dennis Finch Hatton. And so there's a lot of like things back and forth about how Dennis may have been like one of Beryl's great loves of life and da-da-da-da. Don't really care about that, at least not right now. But one thing Dennis did do for Beryl was ignite her interest in flying. So Dennis was one of the first people in Kenya to own his own plane. And like seeing that and seeing him fly really like made Beryl be like, oh, that's really cool. And so she found another man that was living in Kenya at the time, a man named Tom Campbell Black, who was also a pilot and a flight instructor. And she was like, hey, can you teach me how to fly? So he began teaching her how to fly, which is super, super cool. In 1927, what?
Did she learn how to do a barrel roll?
Probably.
Did she invent the barrel roll? Have I been spelling it wrong?
No, but that would actually be really interesting.
Oh my God.
So in 1927, she would marry Mansfield Markham and take his last name. And this was the last name she would like continue using throughout her life, even though she would get married a third time later in life. But he was heir to a British coal mining fortune. So, you know, he's upper crust, which, I mean, like...
Black gold.
Granted, like, she came from pretty decent stock because, like, horse racing in Britain was a really big deal. And so, like, her family was pretty well-to-do before they left Britain. Anyways, so she would marry Mansfield, and they would have a son together named Gervais, which I'm like, that is a very pompous name, but whatever.
Like Ricky Gervais?
Apparently, it's a first name. In this case, but only a year into being married to Mansfield. And in fact, while she was pregnant with Gervais, she entered into a rather infamous affair with Prince Henry, Duke of Gloucester, who is the son of George V, who apparently
Gloucester?
Gloucester, thank you. I was like, I know I'm not sayying that right. But apparently... That's how it's spelled, Emily.
It is how it's spelled. Also, we're American, so we assume everything sounds like the name of a gun. Glock.
I'm also like mostly done with this wine, so
I'm very proud of you.
Taking no blame. But apparently, I'm just gonna call him Henry. We're gonna be casual about this.
Prince
apparently
Henry,
right? Not like modern. Oh no, that's Prince Harry. Okay, good. I was like, please don't, like, this is not modern, guys. We're like 1927. Most of these people are dead. Probably all of them. But so Henry had like gone to Kenya on like, one of those trips where, they were like, oh, this is like, we own this nation. I'm going to go like show off because I'm the prince. So he had gone there and he had met her because, again, she trained racehorses and the royal family has always been very big into racehorses. And apparently like he met her and she just had this like charisma that immediately like attracted him. And so they started a pretty long affair, actually. Basically, they were having an extramarital affair until he got married, which was like almost 10 years later. I think he got married in like 1930 something.
That's also very within the royal family tradition. Just stoop around and then marry the person that the queen or king tells you to.
There is,
and then
also,
keep stooping around.
Oh yeah. There is also some whispers that Beryl may have also simultaneously been sleeping with his older brother, Edward, Prince of Wales, who was later Edward the Seventh. No, Edward the Eighth. So
is he the King's Speech Edward?
I believe so.
Oh,
so
shit.
There are the affair with Henry is pretty decently documented. That like people are like, no, this definitely happened. The affair with Edward is a little bit more questionable, but apparently she may have been seeing both brothers at the same time. But the affair with Henry, who apparently went by Harry, because like after the initial Prince Henry, it all just says Harry, but I'm going to call him Henry. Apparently the affair was such a big thing that like after like meeting her in Kenya and kind of like falling for her when he returned to England, and then Beryl would return to England shortly after, Henry actually like installed her as his like official mistress in the Grosvenor House Hotel, which was just like, it's like shortly away from Buckingham Palace. Like, so he kept her close. And
I love that she's the official mistress. Like, do you think she got business cards?
Right, like he's not even like married yet, but like he took her as his official mistress. He's like, I can't marry you, but like we're making this official as we can.
Yeah, do you think she like walked into a jewelry store and they're all like, ooh, that's the official mistress. Look, yeah. She's got like the official mistress name badge or something like that. I don't fucking. They have a hat.
She's wearing the mistress ring. I don't know.
She's wearing the mistress ring.
But so George V, who I believe was king at the time, attempted to end the affair by sending his son on a royal visit to Japan for several months. Did not work because the affair just resumed when he came back.
I was like, did he just ship her to Japan?
Oh, God, that would have been so funny. No, like, basically, he just waited, and then when he got back, he was like, oh, you're still here? Cool, let's keep going.
Also,
but it was funny.
I want to bring back, like, when your child is in a shitty relationship, sending them on an extravagant foreign vacation.
Essentially, like a sabbatical. It's like, go on sabbatical, go fuck somebody else and get this person out of your system.
You know what would have really helped, like, speed along the end of my abusive relationship? Getting sent to Japan.
I mean, yeah, that would have helped after mine, too, you know?
Oh, my God.
I would have been significantly younger, but, like, I would have been okay with it. So what's interesting is a historian named Jane Ridley noted that apparently... And if a historian says it, I'm going to claim it as true. But apparently there are records of Beryl being spotted running barefoot along the corridors of Buckingham Palace when she would like go and visit Henry, which I love. I want to do that. So remember, during this time, she's still married. And so her husband, Mansfield, which is such a weird name, would actually later threaten to divorce Beryl and actually try to publicly cite Henry as the co-respondent and basically be like, he's the reason we're getting divorced. But so one of the big people pushing Mansfield to do that was his brother Charles. And apparently they were very viciously like reprimanded by Queen Mary. Like, she was basically like, you do not want to cite a prince of the blood in a divorce petition. Like, this will not end well for you. It's like, okay, you can't go after the highest court in the land. Right. Yeah.
Because we're a monarchy and we do whatever the fuck we want.
Right, exactly. I just love that Queen Mary was like, you can, but like it's like you're the one that's gonna get fucked over, basically.
You can try.
However, when those talks were kind of happening, the palace did agree to pay, basically because Charles Mansfield's brother was like essentially blackmailing the crown, which I think is super sketchy. But they what I think is kind of cool is because they kind of sidestepped it. Is they put £1,500 or £15,000 in a trust fund, but it wasn't for Charles or Mansfield. It was for Beryl. And so Beryl got this trust fund with basically received like $500 annually from the crown, which is like $35,000 now-ish, which I think is super funny. But I think they essentially paid her to stop seeing Henry. But still, I was like, you know what? I would probably take the money. Like if it's not that big of a deal to like the fact that like you kind of know he's not going to marry you. Like at a certain point, you know the relationship is probably going to end. So like, why not do it when they're offering you a bunch of money?
She's like, man, I was just getting a lot of sex and a bougie apartment out of this, and now you're paying me? This is working out way better than I thought.
Right.
I was already really down with this no commitment shit.
Hell yeah. So when shortly after her and Henry split, Dennis from before that was dating Karen also split about the same time. So they had like a long-term relationship and they ended it. And Beryl and Dennis did at this point kind of start seeing each other. Again, like there's a lot of the like, oh, he's the love of her life, da 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 da. I'm like, or she just wanted to sleep with him. Like it doesn't like make him the love of her life. But anyways, so they started seeing each other, and again, like this entire time she's been interested in flying, and he kind of reignited that in her. And it was like
I'm sure
really cool.
He reignited a lot of things in her.
It is even said that apparently Dennis invited her out to tour game lands with him on what would turn out to be his fatal flight. He died flying on this trip, but Beryl supposedly, if she was invited, she declined because she was like, no, my flight instructor, because she was still taking flight instructions from Tom Campbell Black. Apparently he had like a premonition or like a bad feeling about it. And so apparently she declined and was like, no, I'm not going to go with you. And then, yeah, he died on that flight, which is insane.
Okay, I'm not a very religious person, but if you're going to fly and someone comes to you like genuinely distressed, just being like, I just have a bad feeling.
Yeah,
just don't fucking
Honestly,
get on the plane.
Not even like flying. If someone is like, I have a really bad feeling about like X, Y, and Z, and they can kind of like specifically name something you were gonna do, don't do it.
Yeah.
So despite losing this person that may have been the love of her life, but had definitely ignited her love for flying, Beryl continued to do that very thing and actually took her first solo flight only a few weeks after his death. I kind of wonder if it like spurred her love of like, you know what, he died doing this thing that he's super passionate about. I'm going to do it too, but I don't know.
Well, and also this whole like life is so short. I've been running around stooping this prince. I really wanted to fly. I kind of haven't really like she's been learning.
Yeah.
But I think she's like, I need to really fucking make this happen.
Oh,
now.
yeah. I guess I should also say that like when she was with Dennis and after she was with the prince, she did move back to Africa. She's back in
Kenya.
And she also became the continent's first female professional pilot. And for the next 6 years, she would basically work either in air postal or would be like a bush pilot where like she would fly up and be like, oh, there's the animals. I'm going to like radio this safari so they can find them, or even a rescue pilot. And she would just kind of do like a lot of random flying things.
I'm imagining her with short kind of wavy hair, a white button up, and those pants that like poof out at the thighs, and like boots and like a little bandana. Like that's how I'm seeing her right now.
It's a good picture. So she was kind of content just like flying around and doing whatever she wanted until she learned that no one at the time, this is in 1936, had ever made a solo crossing westward from Europe to America. So, for those of us that don't fly, the winds across the ocean blow from west to east, so it is traditionally more difficult to fly from Europe to America versus America to Europe. And at least in 1936, a lot of aviators found this to be fatal, trying to make that against those winds. So at this time, crossing the Atlantic had been done. It was done first by John Alcock and Arthur Brown, and then solo by Charles Lindbergh. And this is even after Amelia Earhart's flight in 1932. This is 1936, only 4 years later. However, all of these flights were from west to east, not flying into the wind. They were flying with it. And so Beryl learned that no one, no man, no woman had ever gone the other way. And she was like, but what if we do? And so on September 4th of 1936, apparently armed with chicken sandwiches and a hip flask of brandy.
Love her.
Beryl took off from Abingdon, southern England. So she's leaving from England, giving herself the best chance. In her Percival Vega Gull VP KCC named the Messenger.
The Messenger.
Which I love. The next day, September 5th, two fishermen in Nova Scotia stumbled across a young woman covered in blood wading through a bog. In the background, they could see a single-engine aircraft half buried in mud. The woman approached them and said, "I'm Mrs. Markham, and I've just flown in from England." So it turns out, about 20 hours into her flight, due to icing on her fuel tank vents, her plane basically suffered from fuel starvation, and she crash landed at the Baleen Cove of Cape Breton Island in Nova Scotia, Canada. However, she made it to Canada.
I was going to say that's North America.
Yep, which meant she was the first person to make it from England to North America nonstop east to west. And she was celebrated as this huge aviation pioneer.
Oh my God. When you name dropped Amelia Earhart, I was just like, don't do this to me, Kelley. I cannot.
So I looked it up because I was like, I was curious. The two women never met, but they were both asked to comment on each other's like different achievements. So Amelia was asked to comment when Beryl completed this flight, and then Beryl was later asked to comment when Amelia disappeared. And so it's like they were running around the same time. Like they were both alive, but they never actually got to meet each other, which is sad, but also kind of interesting. Yeah. So yeah, like particularly like England, like everyone celebrated, but like she received a really warm welcome in North America, and to the point where she was like, you know what, I'm gonna move there, and she moved to California in the 1930s, like after her flight. So during this time, she wrote of her adventures and everything that had kind of happened in her life, like whether that was growing up in the bush or whether that was flying across the Atlantic, in a book called West with the Night, and that was published in 1942. It actually had really good reviews, but it didn't sell very well, and it very quickly went out of print, which was very sad. And after a few years of living in the United States, she would move back to Kenya. And then both her and her memoir kind of just faded out of public knowledge. So, what happened during this time? So, we're going to talk about her memoir first, and then we'll talk a little bit more about Beryl. But Beryl's memoir literally like just kind of disappeared. Like there were, copies floating around, but it wasn't being published. It wasn't like well known until a man named George Gutekunst, who was a California resident. He was a restaurateur, and he actually somehow got his hands on a collection of Ernest Hemingway's letters. In one, Ernest Hemingway writes about Beryl's writing. And this is the quote apparently from Ernest Hemingway's letter. And this is what he said. "Did you read Beryl Markham's book, West with the Night? She has written so well and marvelously well that I was completely ashamed of myself as a writer. I felt that I simply was a carpenter with words, picking up whatever was furnished on the job and nailing them together, and sometimes making an okay pig pen. But this girl, who to my knowledge, very unpleasant, and we might even say a high-grade bitch, can write rings around all of us who consider ourselves writers. It really is a bloody wonderful book.
A high-grade bitch.
I know, I was like, that doesn't, like, I'm like, did Ernest Hemingway really say it? I kind of wonder if bitch maybe meant something maybe not the same as...
Ernest Hemingway was also a fucking scoundrel.
Yeah, oh yeah, exactly.
He was a dick, so I don't believe he meant bitch in the way that you and I call each other bitch.
No.
I do think it's interesting, though, because, like, as much of a scoundrel as he is, or was,
he was a good
writer.
writer. Oh, yeah. And he was very full of himself. So the fact that he is willing to, whoever he was writing this to, like the fact that he was willing to be like, okay, yeah, she makes me feel bad about how I write is insane.
Yeah. And if you've never read Ernest Hemingway stuff, just listen to how he describes his feelings of inadequacy.
Oh, yeah.
That's really beautiful writing. And he's like, I'm shit compared to this chick.
Exactly. So when George like read this, he was like, okay, what the fuck is this book? Like, what is West with the Night? I've never heard of it before. Like, how have we never heard of a book that Ernest Hemingway is like saying that like this puts all my work to shame when Ernest Hemingway is super well known? And so he went and he found a copy of West with the Night and he just became absolutely like enamored with it. And he was like, yeah, this is super fucking good. And he actually went to a California publisher, North Point Press, and was like, you need to reissue this book. Like, I don't know why it went out of print. It's super fucking good. And you need to do it. So her book was reissued in 1983.
Oh, my God.
Beryl was 81 years old at the time.
Oh, she was still alive.
She was still alive. So let's take a step back and let's talk about what happened to Beryl when she and her book went off into obscurity.
Can I just say really quick, I hope when they reprinted the book, you know how they write like they have excerpts of like positive reviews. I hope they just included that excerpt from Ernest Hemingway's letter.
God, that's what I would have done.
I am shit compared to this high grade bitch.
So it turns out, after the re-release of the book, a person from AP East Africa named Barry Schlater actually went and found Beryl, who was living in Kenya at the time and not doing super well. But let's talk about what happened to Beryl when her and her book faded into obscurity. So as her book drifted off into obscurity, Beryl had gone back to what she knew best. She'd gone back to horses. She left the United States in about 1950, kind of like disillusioned with everything that had happened, kind of like, oh man, like I wrote this good book, like everyone praised it, but nothing happened, and kind of was just like, eh. And so she just went back to Kenya and resumed her status as a horse trainer. And she actually went on to have like 6 horses compete in like a Kenya Derby and did really well. Like she did really well as a horse trainer. And like to the point where she was like in the racing elite of Kenya. She didn't race, but she bred and trained these horses. So horses she had trained and had sold off had won the Kenya Derby 6 years in a row. And she had won the top trainers award 5 of those 6 years. However, something kind of weird happened, and people like there's different things that people attribute it to, but it ended up being called Beryl's blight. And basically, after a while, like all of the horses she raised kind of just started to not be very good at racing, and no one could really figure out why. Like whether the horses were actually sick, whether it was something like Beryl was doing. No one could really like tell, but suddenly, like these horses that had been winning and winning and winning just kind of stopped. And so she ended up moving she moved to South Africa. She took a number of her horses with her to kind of try to like her luck there. And she would train in South Africa for about 6 years, but really wouldn't reach the prominence she had obtained when she was living in Kenya. She kind of moved around a few times after that. She would go back to Kenya and then she would go to Zimbabwe and then back to Kenya and stuff like that. However, by the time she returned to Kenya, life in Kenya had changed. Like, the British colonization was pretty far over, everything like that. Like, a lot of the things she knew and like was used to were kind of gone, and her resources were pretty low. And unfortunately, like, where she was living was not in the best place, and her house was broken into several times. Oh. And one of the last times when she was burgled, she was home, and they found her, and they just beat the crap out of her. And that was actually, it was shortly after that the journalists found her. So she survived. She was okay. Like, she got beaten up. She was bruised pretty badly. And this is, like, when the journalist found her and was like, oh my God, like, what happened to you? Like, you wrote this amazing book, but here you are, like, beaten up and living in poverty. And, the journalist kind of brought her story back to the forefront. And so this is at the time the book is starting to become a bestseller. It was met with really, like, good reviews and wide acclaim again. But this time it sold better. It actually sold 100,000 copies, like, very quickly, and has sold to date, it has sold well over 1 million copies. It's still in print. Not like
I'm glad, because if this was going to end with I can never find this book, I was going to be really pissed.
No, you definitely can. This windfall didn't alter Beryl's life substantially, because unfortunately, like, somebody else had gotten it to be republished, and she saw some of the money, but not a lot. She was able to live comfortably. Like, she moved to, like, what they called is a humble bungalow, but like, it was in a safer area, but it wasn't like some mansion or anything like that. But she's also 80 years old. One thing
too many stairs in mansions.
One thing it did change, though, is she had a lot more visitors. Like, people that admired her book would seek her out. Reporters, movie makers, like, all of these people kept showing up at her door. And in fact, like, after her movie was released, there ended up being a public television documentary about Beryl's life. It was called World Without Walls, Beryl Markham's African Memoir. And they had actually, like, gone and talked to her and, like, did pretty well. So it was actually George, the guy who found the letter, and the reporter that went and found Beryl, that really actually had approached the station and was like, hey, you should make a documentary about this woman's life. Like, she's been living in Africa. Like, it would really help her out. And so they actually did do that. And Lyle Talbot narrated the film. British actress Diana Quick was the voice of Beryl in the readings from her memoir. And Schlater, who was the correspondent who went and found Beryl the first time, he was the one that did, like, all the interviews and stuff, which is really, really cool. And it did really well. And so, Beryl would go on to live for a few more years, and she would suffer a fall, supposedly while leaning over to pet her dog, which I'm like, if I ever go, this is how I'm going to go.
That is how I will go. Actually, I will go either trying to pet my dog or because my cat tripped me.
Yeah. But essentially what happened was she suffered a fall, whether due to her dog or not, broke her femur, had to have, like, a really long operation because of it, got pneumonia, and passed away, unfortunately. So she died on August 4th, 1986 at 83 years old. And I mean, her life had been freaking wild. Like, she lived more than most people do in their one lifetime. Like, it's crazy.
I cannot believe, like, okay, she is a prince fucking flying, grew up in the bush, horse training, hottie adventurer.
Big badass.
I mean, this is what, like, adventure stories of the 1920s were made of, and she was living it.
Yeah. So after she passed,
oh my God, I just can't get over, like, this is her actual life. And I'm like, she's like a more sexually liberated Indiana Jones.
I know. Well, and what I was going to say is I love, like, after she passed, like, they found, like, a collection of short stories she had written, and they collected it into a book, and they called it The Splendid Outcast. And I'm like, if that doesn't fit so well, that is exactly what it was.
I love that.
After she passed too, her book West with the Night was actually like taken and parsed down by Don Brown and made into a children's book. So like they can hear about her adventures. The children's book is called The Good Lion, which I'm like, I don't know why you named it that, but okay.
Because kids love lions.
And then in 1988, so a few years after she died, CBS actually aired a little mini series called Beryl Markham, A Shadow on the Sun. And so both West with the Night and Splendid Outcast, which was the collection of short stories, appeared on the New York Times bestseller list as hardcover fiction, like for several years after she passed, which I think is really great. So what, because of course men have to do this. So I mentioned that she was married a third time and then never actually mentioned her third husband. So later in life, Beryl married a man named Raoul Schumacher. Like, I literally could not find like anything about their marriage except for this. This was what I found. So after she passed, Raoul made a claim that, oh, she didn't author that book alone. I was a big help and I authored a chunk of it.
You know what, Raoul? Get fucked.
Yep. And that is exactly
fucked.
what we can say, because there is so much evidence that shows she did write it herself. There were copies of manuscripts sent to her editor prior to Beryl ever meeting Raoul. Author Mary Lovell had visited Beryl before she passed in Nairobi and had interviewed her extensively before she passed in preparation for writing a biography, Straight On Till Morning, which eventually came out about 2 years after Beryl passed. And Mary very clearly was like, no, Beryl definitely did write it. She said, she's like, her husband did make some basic edits to the manuscript, but that was more like, here, I wrote a book. Can you do you have any feedback like I've done with my husband before? You know, like this wasn't like he didn't write any of it. He was like, oh, you need a comma there.
You ended this with a preposition. You can't do that.
The only thing that
split
kind of came...
infinitive, babe.
Right. The only thing that kind of came out of like Mary's thing was, what I love about this is she doesn't... She's like, no, Beryl definitely wrote this, but she did suggest that maybe Antoine de Saint-Exupéry, who was another of Beryl's lovers, may have served as inspiration, and inspiration only, did not help her write it, did not tell her what to write, nothing like that, but may have inspired some of the language and storytelling style she used.
That's okay.
Which is pretty normal.
That's
to
how
have someone else influence stuff. Exactly.
That's how all art works.
No, but that's what Mary was saying. Is she was like, Beryl wrote this at most, someone inspired her to actually write down her story. That's about it. No one else wrote it with her. That's essentially what Mary was saying.
Can we just let a woman who did the damn thing get credit for doing the damn thing without trying to be like, actually,
I know.
this is how I'm going to invalidate her accomplishment because she didn't really write it all.
I'm like, I wonder if that's why I can't find anything about her marriage to Raoul's, because everyone was just like, fuck you, Raoul.
Yeah.
We're deleting you from history.
Mistake number 3.
Yeah, exactly. So there have actually been quite a few like films and different things made about Beryl's life. There was a film adaptation of her memoir in which she is represented as an outspoken horse-riding tomboy named Felicity. There was in the United States, there was a public television documentary called A World Without Walls, which was, we talked about, that was the one that they made like after they found her to try to like drum up interest. There was a made-for-TV movie called Beryl Markham, A Shadow on the Sun. And then there was an ITV TV series which I was like, I thought they only did murder stuff, but apparently not.
I was going to say, I've only heard ITV in context of murder show.
Right. But they made a TV series called Heat of the Sun, which was set in 1930s Kenya. And in it, there was a character named Emma Fitzgerald, who was like the main character. And she was an independent aviator who is very strongly modeled after Beryl. There was another book written about her.
They didn't really write that TV show because they
were inspired by someone else.
Yeah, so it doesn't count. Like, seriously,
yeah.
This is what that shit sounds like.
There was another novel written about her life called Circling the Sun, and then she was actually represented on the TV show series The Good Witch in one episode called Written Like a Merriwick. I haven't seen it, but apparently there is someone that is modeled after her. Also, so on Venus, they have like that tradition, the International Astronomical Union names all the craters on Venus after women, like specifically because they're like, Venus is for women kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And so Beryl actually has a crater named after her on Venus, which I think is really cool because I'm like, why? Like, I'm not saying she should overshadow Amelia Earhart because what Amelia Earhart did was also impressive, but like I feel like they should be on the same level at least.
Right. I mean, like, don't get me wrong. And like, we don't have to fall into the trap
of
pitting these women against each other. I think one of the reasons Amelia Earhart is sorry, I've got beer burps, as noble as she is because her disappearance was so weird and we like don't totally know what happened. And that really, even if you're like, I don't care about planes, I don't care about women, I don't care about
you still probably know who she is.
You love a good mystery. Everyone loves a good mystery.
Yeah.
Accurate. And I'm not saying that Amelia Earhart wouldn't deserve the attention she gets had she not disappeared, but I think that's a huge part of it.
Yeah.
Is that there's this giant question mark at the end of her whole story. And Beryl, she was rediscovered when she was in her 80s. So I think she might have gotten even more recognition had she maybe been younger when she was rediscovered, or if that book really took off the first time.
Right.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Like she had this like wild life and then just like quietly faded into still becoming a fucking 6-time Kenya Derby winner.
Right? Like
but then like quietly faded into obscurity.
Shit.
Yeah.
I really hope, and I imagine Beryl was the kind of person who she did what she wanted and whom she wanted.
Oh yeah.
And I don't think she was really out for anyone's validation. So I really hope that even though she did not get the credit that she deserved during life, I think she was content. I think she was like, I'm living my best life right now, and I don't care if anyone knows it.
Yeah.
How many people can say they fucked a prince?
Right?
For a decade.
It's insane. Like, and become like essentially a mistress where like he was keeping you in a hotel close to him.
Right? I mean, it's so wild for the time because she is sexually very much in charge of what she's doing. And you know what? I'm going to say cheating. I don't agree with it. She's not always making great decisions, but she is sexually in charge. No one is like victimizing her in these situations. And while she's doing but she's not just a sex object. She's like, I'm also a pilot and I train champion racehorses. And
she very much was like
fucking ocean. And I wrote a book.
Yeah, she was very much like, oh, I want this. I'm going to go after it.
It's just, and like I've got all these, I know how to hunt a boar and speak Swahili because I grew up in the bush. Like, good God. It doesn't, we were talking earlier about like, you can't write this. You can't. This character would seem like so over the top. Almost like a Mary Sue kind of character.
Right.
She can do everything
but that's
and everyone
she very
wants
much
her.
was like, I'm going to do what I want.
Yeah, God. I needed that fucking energy today.
Yeah. She was untamable. She was just like, you know what? No, like I am going to do what I want.
I love it so much. And I think her and Amelia Earhart would have been cool if they had met. Like, I'd love to be a fly on the wall of that interaction.
God, that would have been so interesting.
But also, I do like that her legend is separate from Amelia Earhart.
Yeah, she's like, her own person.
Amelia Earhart didn't inspire her, which, like, there's nothing wrong with that. But she's over here doing her own thing independently. And then Amelia Earhart's also over here doing her own thing. Like, I just love that these two really, literally high-flying, adventurous women were doing the damn thing at the same time. In the 1920s and 30s, when people are like, women, no, we can't do anything. Women can't do it. Like, even today, people are like, women can't do that. Meh.
Yeah.
It's like, here are two women who are doing it independently of each other and anyone else.
Right. So I just found a quote that apparently is from her about Dennis, the guy who died in the plane crash. And this is apparently what she said. And I think this kind of speaks to who she was. But she said, Dennis has been written about before, and he will be written about again. If someone has not already said it, someone will say that he was a great man who never achieved greatness. And this will not only be trite, but wrong. He was a great man who never achieved arrogance. And I think that really speaks to, like, the respect, potentially love, but, like, at least the respect she had for that, like, the man that kind of developed her love of flying.
I also feel like that is a good characterization of kind of how we're characterizing her. She was a great woman who she achieved greatness.
She did, but she was never arrogant, or she never flaunted it. She never really cared.
Yeah, it's like it's so crazy because without directly talking about herself, she is talking about herself.
Yeah.
And also,
it's
you know,
insane.
the respect she has for other people too.
Yeah.
And her what a legacy is to her is very different from what a legacy might be to other people.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I thought you would like that story. And I was there's not like a ton of information on her, but like there's enough.
I loved every second of it, Kelley. That was a ride. I needed that. I really needed that energy today. So, Kelley.
Hold on. I was going to show you a picture of Beryl, but I need to tell you this article that I just found written by the Daily Mail because it makes me laugh.
God,
just the title
Daily
of it.
Mail.
So it says, so apparently Prince Henry was called Harry. So the title says, Prince Harry's scandalous adventures in Africa. No, Meghan, not your husband, but his great-great uncle who shared merry lover with his brother and was tricked into funding a baby. I'm like, Jesus Christ, Daily Mail. Oh,
the
that's
Daily
so
Mail
fun. I just like
is
that they
definitely not.
For some reason, had to call out Meghan Markle. Like, why?
Yes.
But I just, oh my God.
Here's the thing. I'm never going to say the Daily Mail is great journalism. That's fucking funny, though.
Yeah, it is.
Holy shit.
Because it is talking about, like, Beryl and, like, the history of her, like, seeing potentially both princes.
Yeah.
It's just funny. I was just like, oh my God. Like, that popped up as I was looking at, like, pictures of her, and I was like, what?
Every now and then. I'm
not going to read the article because they probably got a bunch of shit wrong. But the title, good job, Daily Mail.
No, someone had a lot of fun with that, and I do applaud you. That is magnificent.
Yeah.
So, Kelley, what are you thankful for?
I am thankful for this being the end of my week, and I have a 3-day weekend, and I'm very excited about it because I am ready to be done. I am very tired. It was a very long and very interesting week. Like, it wasn't particularly like bad in any way. It was just a lot, and I feel like I haven't stopped running except like because I had a really busy weekend and last week was busy, so I feel like it's been like 2 weeks since I've had time to like rest, and now I have time to rest, and I'm very excited and thankful that I have the ability to do that.
This is why in the past you and I have taken April off, because we get
usually March is a lot.
We do the History Center podcast, which seriously, thanks again to the Olmsted County History Center and everyone who came. That was amazing.
It was a lot of fun.
Like, I was shocked at the number of people who we didn't guilt into coming who were there.
Yeah, I always am every year.
But Women's History Month is always incredibly busy for us. And I think Kelley and I both, it's a full-on sprint all month. And then like Kelley's got her birthday in there and she's like trying to enjoy that. And we both come April 1st crash.
Oh God.
Yeah. And I know I am still in the process of crashing. Like I
haven't had a chance yet. I think that's this weekend for me.
Yeah, I worked from home early this week cuz my body kind of shut down. And I'm still like, I'm just pretending to be a human being until the weekend. So, and then even this weekend isn't very restful for me. So I've got an 11-year-old's birthday party.
That'll be
no rest
interesting if nothing else, you know?
Yeah. But yeah, no, I'm thankful for you. That's the end of your week. And I do really hope that you carve out some time to rest. And if someone's like, do this, you're like, no. Like, I want you to feel empowered to do that.
I will do my best. No promises, but I will do my best. What are you thankful for? I
am thankful. So I think I've talked about my dad before and how he, older white man, doesn't need to change, doesn't need to, like, the system was made for him. And he is going through this self-education. And not that he's ever stopped learning, but he's really become in tune with a lot of the social issues that have become more relevant in the past.
I think that's so cool for your dad, though, like that he is willing to like stand up and learn instead of just sit down and be like, man, I'm too old for this.
Yeah, or like, well, why? Because there's very little that's going to change for him that's really going to like hurt him. Not to say that not everyone is at risk under this current administration, but he's got a buffer.
Right,
so,
like it's a lot. As a older white man, again, no offense to your dad, but like as an older white man, there's a lot less he has to worry about.
Yeah, and those are just adjectives. They don't have to be used in a negative way. But he's been really active in like volunteering and educating himself. And so there was an event about the doctrine of discovery, which is it's basically like manifest destiny and the ideology that fueled colonialism, but the Catholic Church's version of, well, we need to go forth and we need to spread Catholicism. And if people don't like it, we're going to make them like it. And, that kind of shit. And especially how it has hurt indigenous people in North America. So he invited me to this event. We went, and there was a woman who survived the boarding schools. She was talking about like this, just the straight up genocide of indigenous people and her experience. It was very much a call to action to, address these issues. And I was really thankful because there's a woman my dad knew, and he introduces me. Oh, this is my daughter, Emily. And she's like, it's so good to see young people at something like this. And I'm like, I was probably one of the youngest people there. I'm like, it's so good to see old people at something like this.
Yeah, because a lot of like rallies and stuff, it is a lot of people like our age.
Well,
or younger.
Like, people our age and younger are raging on social media.
The fight.
And and so I feel like younger people have a more visual, presence in the resistance and the fight. But also it is just so wonderful to see older people and like older white people who have benefited from a system.
Right. And getting involved.
Like getting involved and being aware of these issues. And like I volunteered with my dad and like his church group before. And I remember there was this older lady. She's just like, you know, she's like an old Minnesota mom.
That's
and she's
cute.
like, oh, yeah, you know, my neighbor or my son or someone was like afraid to hang up a pride flag because of all of that. I was like, you know what a fucking pride flag is?
We're good
And
on
like
you,
not in
Granny.
not in the context of it's something that you know you're supposed to be angry about.
Right, like she was like, no, like it sounds like she was kind of like, they should be able to hang that up. They shouldn't have to worry about that.
Yeah, and like I just it's nice to know. It's
It
nice to know that, you know, it's not just the younger generation that's fed up. Actually, a lot of the younger generation did not show up in this last election.
Right.
But yeah, no, so I'm thankful for the opportunities to see that, because with being just completely inundated with negative news, it's really good to see like real live people in our community who
Of
are
all ages standing up and doing
of all
stuff.
ages who are trying to address harm that's been done in the past and
Yeah.
make the future better.
I definitely agree.
Yeah. Because honestly, we got to have old white people on our side. There's a lot of them.
We gotta have everyone. Everyone needs to fucking band together because this is all bullshit.
Yeah, we all need to get on the same team here because Jesus fucking Christ.
Right. Yeah. There's really no better way to say it than that.
Jesus fucking Christe. Well, thank you so much for listening to another super upbeat episode of Whining About Herstory. Like us on Facebook at Whining About Herstory, Instagram at WAHPad.
For the record, this probably is one of our more recent upbeat stories. Anyways, our website is whiningaboutherstory.com, where you can find a link to all of our social medias, a link to our merch, where we might be getting some new merch. We're also on YouTube now. It's not videos, it's just our podcast. So if you want somewhere new to listen, or you can just go follow us because algorithms, yay. You can also find a link to our Buy Me a Coffee, where you can sponsor a glass of wine for $5 or an entire bottle for $15. And you can find a link to our Patreon. For as little as $1 a month, you can get some bonus content and join us for a monthly happy hour.
We actually just got a new wine sponsor, and we're waiting. The reason we didn't do it this time is because we're waiting until we can drink together. We're doing a remote thing today. But very excited again. Thank you so much, and we really appreciate you. And we will. You'll
be hearing from us soon.
Yeah, that's a promise and a threat.
Yeah,
we're going to invite you into our War Plan group chat.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for listening to another episode of Whining About Herstory. Rate us 5 stars wherever you listen, because it pisses off all the right people and gives us the warm fuzzies. I'm Emily.
I'm Kelley.
Have an empowered day, y'all. I just realized that my curtains are open and my neighbors can definitely see me waving my arms around like a jackass. And
they're like, oh, she's just imitating the wacky inflatable tube man. All right.
They're like, this is why we feed her like a stray cat. She's not okay.